Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're going to have a look at October. Today's first video, we're doing the October month-end forecast from Gazobit. So we're going to get CFS Beijing Climate Center and ECMWF extended models together, see what they're showing for the next month, and then we'll create our forecast based, partly at least, on that model output. We'll begin by having a review of September's forecast. So at the end of the video, I'll have a little sneak peek for November too. Just say, coming up later on today, we'll have the 5-day forecast, and then we'll have your regular week to 10-day update later on this afternoon. So we'll start off with the, what happened in September. These are the anomaly maps from the UK Met Office. We've got the September 2018 mean temperature anomaly here set against 81 to 2010 averages from the UK Met Office. You see, it was generally an average month, really, across most parts of the country. Temperatures not deviating particularly far from normal. Some of these western areas did come out with a slightly cooler than average month. Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, North West England, parts of West Wales was a little bit cooler than average there, but most places within average in terms of 81 to 2010. As far as precipitation was concerned, bit of an east-west split. So much of the Midlands, southern, southeastern England, another dry month was experienced there. In the northwest, it was wetter. Parts of Wales a bit above average with rainfall. Northwest England a little bit above average too. Quite wet for North and West Scotland, although eastern Scotland was dry, and Northern Ireland also was drier than average as well. Now, the Gasweathers.com September forecast predicted we would have slightly warmer than average temperatures, and as far as precipitation is concerned, we predicted slightly drier than average month as well. However, we said it wouldn't be straightforward. If you remember, a lot of the model output last month was indicating a very warm, dry, anticyclonic September. And if we had based the forecast on that model output, we would have gone for a substantially warmer and drier than average month. We said it was unlikely to be that straightforward. We thought that drier and warmer periods would be offset by cooler, wetter periods, and so overall we would only come out slightly above average, and precipitation, whilst a little bit drier than average, probably wouldn't be deviating all that far from average either. And I think that has been borne out really by how this month has played out. I think it has been rather more unsettled, rather more changeable than the model output was predicting, even if overall we haven't come out with a particularly wet month, and it has been quite a dry month in the south and the southeast too. And as far as temperatures are concerned, well, to 81 to 2010, very average. Actually, if we were looking at 61 to 1990, I think it would come out a little bit warmer than average, some eastern parts of the country. But overall, I don't think Gasweathers.com September forecast was too bad. I think we got the broad themes sort of correct. And so I'm quite pleased with how the September forecast played out. September always one of the hardest months to forecast for as well. So, yeah, I don't think it's too bad a forecast at all. Right, having a look at October then. This is a 700 millibar height anomaly forecast from the CFS V2 model for October 2018. You see that it's going for a ridge of above average heights to be down to the southwest of the country, but we do also have below average heights to the north, quite deep below average heights to the north as well. So autumn really getting going to the north of the country. The flow and the jet stream is going through rather like that. Remember, trough and the jet stream is sinking down through much of Europe. So actually it's a rather unsettled and rather cool month that we're seeing here, particularly for northern parts of Europe. Now for us in the UK and for Ireland, we are quite close to that ridge. So that does fend off the influence of the low pressure and the jet stream to some degree. But even so, you would expect to have unsettled periods at times. This is the temperature anomaly for October. It's a big change on what we've seen over the past few months, because many parts of Europe are actually coming out cooler than average. Now, in the UK and Ireland, we're actually coming out close to average, not a big temperature deviation, but through many parts of particularly Central and Northern Europe, that temperature anomaly is rather pegged back, and that's because the jet stream, of course, is pushing in from the north and then dipping down rather like that with the areas of low pressure. And then, of course, we have this ridge that's sitting just out here. Spain and Portugal coming away with a warmer than average month. For the UK, it's going for average temperatures. And then as far as precipitation is concerned, well, quite a dry month being forecast in the west of Europe. So the UK, Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, substantially drier than average there. And even across central eastern parts of Europe, where you would have thought the jet stream's dipping down, it's not overly unsettled for those areas either. So many parts of Europe are actually being forecast to have quite a dry month with CFS V2. The UK is looking very dry, except the northern and western parts of Scotland, where it is rather more unsettled. Beijing Climate Center looks like that. This is the anomaly for the next 30 days, taking us from the 1st through to the 30th of October, with the below average heights up to north. This is 500 below our height anomaly, below average heights to the north, above average heights to the south. Rather sort of flatter westerly flow coming through with that. Again, it does suggest that northern parts of Europe could be quite unsettled. Southern Europe is likely to be drier at times. Temperature anomalies are looking like that. So again, quite close to average with the temperature anomaly for the UK. It isn't a big deviation. Many parts of Europe are coming away with a warmer than average month, though, in complete contrast to what the CFS is showing, where it's a lot colder than that. So they're in disagreement really about both the broad pattern, how much the jet stream is going to dig down from the north, and also, consequently, the temperature anomalies for most of Europe. Anyway, for the UK, actually, the difference isn't that great. They're both going for kind of like average temperatures. But for most of Europe, that's a big difference between cold and average CFS, warmer than average with the Beijing Climate Center. Temperature precipitation is looking like that, so it's rather more unsettled as well, the Beijing Climate Center for the UK. Southern areas coming out a little bit drier than average, but certainly northern areas looking rather wetter than average. Notice much of Scandinavia also being forecast to be very wet this October. And then finally, the ECMWF, so this means sea level pressure from weather.us, and seen quite a bit of anticyclonic influences for October. It's got above average pressure, high pressure down to the southwest, and also ridging up to the northeast. Low pressure in the middle of the Atlantic, and some low pressure through southern parts of Europe as well, but not a great deal. Temperature anomalies are coming out warmer than average through northern parts of Europe during October, with the ECMWF, which is Scandinavia, central northern Europe, warmer there. For the west of Europe, actually close to average. UK, Ireland, down to France, Spain, Portugal. Those areas are forecast to have close to average temperatures during October. Precipitation-wise, it looks quite dry, especially for the UK and for Ireland. That's because we've got quite a bit of anticyclonic influences going on. So a drier than average month, but a little bit on the cool side, close to average temperatures. So what do we make of that? It looks like the models are in reasonable agreement, actually, in terms of temperature and precipitation, but I think they're a bit unsure about the pattern that's going to cause those temperature and precipitation. So if we're just basing this on the model output, we will go for a average temperature month, and we'll go for kind of like fairly dryish month as well, especially so down in the south. But because they're disagreeing on the patterns that are bringing that those anomalies, it does create an added level of uncertainty. As it is, I think GasLowis.com October forecast will be going for close to average temperatures. I think, again, similar to September, really, we could have some quite warm weather at times, especially in the first half of the month, but probably offset by cooler or even colder weather. And I wouldn't totally rule out the chance of a first real northerly, and that would probably be most likely in the final week or so of the month. Might turn winds into the north. That will probably bring significant frost, the first significant frost season, possibly snow showers, and they'd be most likely in the north, but couldn't totally rule out they might get a little bit further south. So watch out for that. It's just an outside bet, but we might get our first real northerly shot at some point in the final week to 10 days of October. But as it is, I think we'll have like warm and dry conditions being offset by wetter and cooler conditions again, very similar to September, although of course because it's a cooling time of year, the overall temperatures will be coming out cooler during October than they did in September. So close to average temperatures. As far as rainfall is concerned, again, I think we're looking at a fairly dryish month in the south and the east, but the north and west will probably come out wetter. I expect the trend as we go along probably gets more unsettled. We may get our first sort of gales as well coming along later on in the month, sort of autumn gales and wet and windy weather too. So quite an interesting month, and the descent into autumn continues during the course of October. This is an uncertain forecast, I have to say. I haven't got good confidence in it, but that's what I think is the most likely outcome for October. Finally, just having a quick sneak peek at November. This is how the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly is looking for November, and it's placing a big trough of below average heights just to the west, northwest of the UK, above average heights down to the south. We're bringing through a strong jet stream there. So, well, it's a very unsettled month, very unsettled signal. Could be severe gales at times, bouts of heavy rain. That's unleashing the Atlantic a little bit, I think, during the course of November. So after all this quiet, dry weather we've had recently, it might be that November does unleash the Atlantic. One thing I would say is that there is a large area of above average heights to our east, across east parts of Scandinavia, back to western Russia. If that is stronger, then it will fend off that low pressure in the Atlantic. But as it goes, it does look as though November could be quite a mild but stormy, wet sort of month. Worry about that when we get to it. Coming back to October, so the GasWeathers.com October forecast is for average temperatures during October. Wouldn't totally rule out a cold of an average month. I think we have our best chance of a cold of an average month, the first one since March, but we've had for quite some time. But it's an outside risk, and I think there'll be enough, just enough warmth left within the atmosphere, probably especially early in the month, just enough left to stop us getting a cold and average month. But it may be quite a close run thing. Overall, I think temperatures come out close to average. Precipitation, probably a bit wetter than average in the north, probably a bit drier than average in the south. Warm and cool and dry and wet weather will offset one another. Very similar to September. Watch out for the chance of our first real northerly push with a fairly sharp cold snap at some point in the final week to 10 days of October. It's an outside risk, but the possibility is there. Right, come back later on for the 5-day forecast, and of course this afternoon have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days as well. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.